If you want to learn how to transform your gym photography from something dark and boring like this to a lot more unique and cinematic like this, stick to the end of the video and I'll teach you how to do that using Lightroom and Photoshop. See you guys at the computer. So I'm going to be walking you guys through this simple 4-step process that I do on 99% of my Instagram photos. The number one thing that I always do is I add a directional blur. For me, this is my personal touch that I like to add to my photos that kind of separates me from the crowd, but here I am teaching it to you guys, so I would love to see it on your photos. From there, I add some sort of overlay, typically like a grungy texture, and then we add either light leaks or a lens flare, and then we bring it back into Lightroom and do our color grading. So once you have your photo imported in Lightroom, you want to right click, click edit in, and edit in Photoshop. I already have it open in Photoshop, so I'm just gonna have to click that there. And once it opens up, you're gonna come to your layers on the right side. Click on the lock to unlock it, right click, and convert this to a smart object. Once that is complete, go up to filter at the top, down to blur gallery, and over to path blur. That'll bring up this directional tool here. So I like to bring the arrow upwards to direct the blur upwards. Then I go up to the top right and adjust the speed. I like to bring it to about 120, the taper to about 7%. Go to the top and click OK. Obviously this will change based on every photo and based on your preferences. These are just the settings that I like to do. From there, we're gonna go over to the right side of your screen and click the brush tool, or we can select B on your keyboard. Then come down to the bottom right, click on Smart Filters, and make sure you click on the white part here, which is your mask. Then you're going to make sure B is selected and bring down your brush size using the left bracket tool or changing it at the top right of the screen. From there, we want to make sure we have the color black selected so we can actually erase the mask. Now, I'm just going to kind of go through this very quickly for tutorial purposes, but if I was doing this for a client, and as you should definitely take your time. So I'm going to brush away every point in this photo that I do not want to be blurry. So I'm going to leave this arm that is in the foreground, and then I'm going to get his arm down here. And then basically I'd like to keep this little ghosting effect. So I don't want to be too extremely accurate, but leave some of the ghosting behind. From there, I like to use some of the textures that I have downloaded from Envato Elements. It's a very good tool that I like to use. I believe I pay $30 a month for it, but it gives you unlimited access to unlimited different assets that you can use. And this is just where I got the particles from, but there's other websites that you can get them for free. So I like to bring my favorite one into the document here and scale it up a bit. Then I change this to a mask by coming to the bottom of the screen and clicking on the Add Layer Mask button, and I change the blending mode to Screen. From there, I click B on the keyboard to bring up my brush tool and caps lock if it's not visible, and then we're going to scale up the brush and start painting away at these harsher edges here. So I like to get a decent blur effect and kind of let it just overlay the subject slightly. From there, I go over to my light leaks folder. This is one of my personal favorites. So once you bring it in, scale it up, and then you just repeat the same process that you just did for your overlays. So once this is fully scaled up, change it to screen. Then we add a layer mask, make sure B is selected on the keyboard, and then we just begin erasing on parts that we don't want to see. Now from here, I like to lower the opacity here because I believe it's a little bit too intense. We're gonna bring that down to about 40% and come over to our dust layer as well and lower the opacity there. So I'm gonna lower that to about 50%. I believe that looks good. Now we can go ahead and click Save here. Once you have saved your changes in Photoshop, you'll notice that all of those changes have taken effect and will show themselves in Lightroom because those two programs do work together. So make sure that you're in the Develop tab here at the top. And if you haven't already, please do go check out the signature preset pack that I've recently just dropped, because I'm going to be using the emphasis preset here. If not, you can use whatever preset you want or just start from scratch. So for this purpose, I'm going to add the emphasis preset. And then from here, it's just typical color grading. Looking at this preset, I believe it's still a little bit too dark for my liking, so I'm going to increase the exposure slightly here. I'm also going to pull down the highlights because some of the areas are a little bit washed. Increase the exposure a little bit, contrast a bit, and then I'm going to crush the blacks And then from here, I'm going to, let's increase the clarity slightly as well. Color grading is basically just a process that is hit or miss. You're just going to adjust every single photo differently until you get that desired look. I will have future tutorials going a little bit more in depth about color grading and how to, approach your photos and just kind of how to look at them in a different way to where you can understand how to actually color grade them. But for this photo, that's all the effects and that's all the color grading that I'm going to do. So it's a pretty badass change. This is just before and after right here from the color grading. So if you guys did enjoy this tutorial, please do follow, subscribe. I'm going to have a lot more of these coming in the future, and I'd be happy to have you guys there. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.